Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for joining me for another episode today. It's going to be a baseball theme, and we are going to go back to sort of a part two to a video that I did last week showing some bridge players who played in both the Negro Leagues and Major League Baseball on 1957 Topps baseball designed cards, whether those were actual 57 Topps or in some cases art cards. And I have another trio of those to get to today. But the first guy, which is the art card for today, I really wanted to separate and talk about for a couple of minutes because he's somebody that I was unaware of, and it's really kind of a sad and tragic story. And thought, some of you would probably appreciate learning a little bit more about this gentleman. So I am speaking about Charlie Peete. And here he is on again, art card. This is not an actual 1957 Topps card. Sadly, he does not appear to have any Topps or Bowman or any mainstream cards from his playing days. So this one had to suffice, but it's a great shot here. Very well done representation of the 57 Topps design. Now, the reason why Charlie doesn't have any official cards is, as I alluded to, sort of a sad one. He did start in the Negro Leagues, obviously, being in this episode with this theme. He played for the Indianapolis Clowns. And then he was in the Army for a couple of years and eventually found himself in the farm system for the St. Louis Cardinals, who he's depicted with here. And eventually he got a call up by the Cardinals in 1956 and realized his dream of playing Major League Baseball. He got, I think it was like a 20-something game stint, something like that. He got around 50 at-bats, played some outfield as well, and was eventually sent back down to the minors. Now, after the 1956 season, heading into 1957, he was a front runner, or was maybe even slated to be the potential starting center fielder for the Cardinals in 1957. And if that had taken place, he would have been the first African-American sort of regular starter on the Cardinals, like in an everyday role. For that franchise. So knowing that he was in contention for that, he wanted to play some winter ball to keep his skills sharp. And he ended up in a league down in Venezuela. And tragically, in the winter of 1956, I think it was November, when he and his family were on a flight from New York down to Venezuela for that winter league, the plane crashed into a mountain very, very close to its destination. Had made the entire flight, and I think it was about maybe 15 or 20 miles from the airport in Caracas when the plane struck a mountain, and all 25 people on board were killed, including Charlie Peete here, his wife, and tragically his 3 small children as well, effectively bringing an end to Pete's entire family, which is incredibly sad, obviously from a human standpoint. But also from a baseball standpoint, he never got to become that everyday starting player that he looked as though he was destined to be. And really sort of tragic that he never got to patrol center field for the Cardinals due to that terrible accident. So a little bit of maybe a morbid start to the episode here, but somebody who I think I was completely unaware of who he was, his stint in baseball, and his tragic passing, until I got into researching these guys over the course of this past winter to kind of prepare for my collecting focus here in 2024. So I found his story fascinating, and hopefully a few of you did as well. Then I have 2 other 1957 Topps bridge players here. These are actual cards, not art cards. And then I have a couple of bonus cards of bridge player pickups that I've landed recently that are pretty great as well. We're going to start with this one. Jim Gilliam. This is a really nice, nicely centered example that I picked up recently for about $8. I've had this card for a long time, but mine was pretty beat up, and I'm trying to find like maybe mid-grade, nicely centered examples of these to go into the Negro League Z Folio that I'm building, and Bridge Player and Integration Z Folio, kind of that whole broad range. And this one struck me as one that needed to be upgraded, so I grabbed this recently. He was a great player, a switch hitter who began his career with the Baltimore Elite Giants in the Negro Leagues. He played about 5 years with that franchise, and then eventually went on to become the leadoff hitter for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He had his rookie season in 1953. He won Rookie of the Year and then was the leadoff hitter for the Dodgers franchise really throughout the 50s and through their move to the West Coast. He was a really good player. He scored over 100 runs, I think, his first 4 years in Major League Baseball. And he took over second base duties from Jackie Robinson. So talk about big shoes to fill there as Jackie shifted to other positions later in his career. So just a great player. I'm not an expert on any of these guys, so certainly go look them up and do your own research. But I just want to touch on each of them briefly as I feature their cards. And then the third and final 1957 top subject for today, another really important guy, Gene Baker. And this is another one that I bought in the offseason for around $5, and it really looks great. Loving this collecting quest that I'm on and learning more about these guys. I was familiar with his name. I'd seen him in top sets and kind of been generally aware of him, but certainly learned a lot more preparing for this video. Gene was a basketball and track star growing up who did play some baseball as well. And then he ended up in the Navy after high school. And after all of that, he found himself with the Kansas City Monarchs, one of the premier teams in the Negro Leagues. He was their starting shortstop for a couple of years in the late 40s, and then went on to later have a long career in Major League Baseball with both the Cubs, who he's depicted with here, who he broke in with, and then later the Pittsburgh Pirates, who he set some significant milestones with. What I'm referring to there is with the Pirates, when his playing days wound down, he moved over to being a coach. And as such, he was actually the second black coach in baseball just after Buck O'Neil by like a period of months. I think it was the same season, but Buck beat him by a few months. But he does have the distinction technically as being the first black manager in a major league game when the normal Pirates manager was ejected I think it was September of 1963 towards the end of the season. Gene had to fill in, of course. You need somebody to be the manager when yours is ejected. And when he filled in for the remainder of that game, he was the first African-American manager of a Major League Baseball team. So pretty cool trivia fact there, and another really, really interesting guy. And then to go along with these 57 Topps cards, as I said, I have a couple of bonus pickups of bridge players, one modern card and then another vintage card to close it out. We'll do the modern card first. Check this one out. This is from the Topps Platinum Anniversary set that they've done the last couple of years. The first one being 1952 Topps design, and then this one here being on a 53 design, which is my favorite vintage set. So I love this. Great card here of Larry Doby, the man who integrated the American League, of course, infamously. And so a much more well-known bridge player than like the Charlie Peetes of the world. And I enjoy collecting all of them equally. And I love this one because I'm a fan of Atomic. And this has that great, sapphire / atomic / ice, deal going on in the background there. And it's also a really nice team color match, being the red Atomic. These are serial numbered to 100. Pretty cool card there. And I've decided that this one is going to reside on the very first page of the Negro League / Integration Z folio that I'm working on. And so this one is going to have a place of prominence in that binder, which I will be showing off later on as it kind of gets a little bit more filled up. So great Larry Doby. And then we're going to go back to vintage for the final card in the video. We'll see if I can finish this under 10 minutes from one of my favorite releases of the 50s, 1952 Bowman. Just a really clean and pretty decently centered example here of the Sam Jethroe card for the Milwaukee Braves. Love this. I mean, look at that shoulder patch. Just a really, really cool painting. I've said it many times, but 1950 through 1952 Bowman in particular have always been favorites of mine. And this is one that I actually scooped off of ComC years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, for about $5, if I recall. So really glad to have this one, and it's especially meaningful now with me putting a little bit more focus on some of these guys in this calendar year. So that's going to be a wrap. We'll finish this one up. I hope you enjoyed this, maybe learned a fact or two about a player that you were unaware of. Certainly appreciate your valuable time, and I'll be back soon with some more content. Till then, keep enjoying the hobby, everybody. See ya.